Hello, it's Jim Hutchins for the Jerusalem Connection Truth Report for this week. This week I want to return to some basics of our faith. And I want to do so by posing the question, how can you be sure you're going to heaven? Can you be sure you're going to heaven? And may I say at the outset, if you're a Muslim, you cannot be sure. Your faith does not ensure absolutely that you're going to heaven. If you're a Hindu, you cannot be sure. If you're a Buddhist, you cannot be sure. If you're a Catholic, you cannot be certain. Those are all religions based on your performance. Then can you be sure? And I would suggest to you, you can be sure. You can be absolutely confident, certain, beyond a reasonable doubt. The Apostle Paul tells us in Romans chapter 10, verses 9 and 10, he says this, if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord, that is, he is God. He is God manifest in the flesh. He is God humanly speaking. If you confess Jesus as Lord and you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, he died, was buried, rose again, you believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Not probably saved, hope so, but you will be. That's a statement of certainty. We have to confess what Jesus confessed. Matthew chapter 26, verse 63, the high priest confronts Jesus. And he says, I adjure you, he's speaking to Jesus, I adjure you by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of God. And Jesus said to him, I am. I am the Messiah, the Son of the living God. The high priest responds by saying he has utterly blasphemed. The high priest tore his clothes, said he's utterly blasphemed. What future witnesses do we need? What have you have now heard his blasphemy? What is your judgment? And they answered, he deserves death. That's what got him convicted and crucified, his confession that he was God, that he was the Messiah. We must make that same confession. He made it, we have to make it. And I think it's very important that we realize that it's only in that confession that there is a certainty that we'll go to heaven, that we shall be saved. If you confess with your mouth Jesus as Lord, as God in human flesh, as Yahweh personified. If you confess with your mouth Jesus as Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified. And with the mouth one confesses and is saved. That's as simple as it is. That's as certain as it is. Let me ask you this question. Can you confess Jesus as Lord, as God in human flesh? Can you confess that? Say yes. Can you acknowledge in your heart, believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead? Say yes. If you can say yes to those two questions, I can tell you with absolute certainty and confidence that you will go to heaven, that you're saved eternally. If you confess with your mouth Jesus the Lord, believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. If you made that confession, you are saved. And that's the truth.